This is the video for the lathe made in 2020 for the FRC robotics program. So, the lathe is a machine tool that rotates a certain workpiece around the axis of rotation, so like in a circle. And it symmetrically applies different operations on it, like cutting, sanding, drilling, or deformation or turning. The lathe in our shop is a metalworking lathe, most commonly used to make the axles of the robots we run. The lathe has a couple basic parts. One of them would be the spindle. The spindle would be this big part right here. It's the one that rotates at a certain RPM, and it would rotate the piece you would be working on. The chuck is this little piece in the center which holds the workpiece in place and is bolted onto the spindle, so therefore it will rotate along with the spindle, thus rotating the workpiece. The chuck can have 4 jaws or 3 jaws depending on the requirement of the machine and also the type of machine. Okay, and then the next part of the machine would be the bed, which would be this whole place over here. This is a part of the main body of the machine, and it helps align the tailstock and the carriage, and helps move them around in order to conveniently work on your piece. All the main components are bolted on this, and it's usually made of cast iron due to its high compressive strength and its rigidity, so it does not end up breaking in the middle of an operation. The next major part of the lathe would be the carriage. The carriage is this whole piece right here. It is attached to the bed of the lathe, and it helps move the tool that you would be using to either drill through the part, deformate the part, or otherwise do any operation on the part. It would move on the y-axis and the x-axis, and and the hand wheel right here, this little carriage hand wheel, is used to operate it. The fourth big part of the lathe is the tailstock. The tailstock is this little piece right here. The main function of the tailstock is to support the job when it's required. It's situated on the bed, same like the carriage, and it's placed at the right side of the bed, the exact opposite side of the spindle. The tailstock is also used for holding tools for the machine operations, such as drilling, reaming, and tapping. And it's another one of the more major parts of the lathe. The fifth and the last major part of the lathe would be the headstock. It is directly opposite to the tailstock. It's this big one right here. It houses the spindle and the components which drive the spindle, and it's one of the actual big main body parts of the bed, and it's also made of cast iron. This would be the lathe in our shop. As you can see, we have a spindle here with a 3-jaw chuck, and then we have our carriage here, our bed here, the tailstock here, and the whole left side of our lathe is actually the headstock. And these are the controls for the speed of the headstock. And that's it, the presentation for the 2020 lathe in the FRC team.